We know of dozens of Witchers that have appeared or been mentioned in the books and games. And there is one thing they all have in common. They're all men. Every single Witcher we know of is a male. And just to clarify, for this video, I define a Witcher as someone who has undergone the mutations. This excludes Ciri, as while she had trained to be one, she was never mutated and therefore in this context of the video will not classify as a Witcher. But this brings up the question, why are there no female Witchers in the books and games? Well, we get some hints to why that is the case in the books. While at Kaer Morhen, it becomes quite clear that the Witchers who are present at the castle, including Vesemir, do not know much about how the mutations and the training would affect a young girl. They train Ciri like she's a boy. That is, until Triss intervenes. In the conversations between Triss and the Witchers, they mainly talk about how the Trial of the Grasses could affect Ciri's hormones, and how they might hinder her womanly attributes from developing. It is never really talked about if a girl can survive the mutations. When Triss talks about Ciri undergoing the mutations and trials, her main concerns have to do with that Ciri was born and raised a princess and not a peasant. In Triss her eyes, this probably would have meant that Ciri would be weaker and less capable to do physical activities, and well, we all know how wrong she was. When it comes to the explanation that the games give for the lack of female Witchers, the best example can be found in A Witcher's Journal. Here, in the parts where Erlend talks about the first Witchers being created, we do get to see somewhat what happens to the girls during these trials and mutations. We became stronger, faster, and our bodies grew more powerful. But as the experimentation continued, the concoctions the mages prepared for us became harsher, and most of the girls quickly took ill. When the sorcerers started their experimentations, it grew clear that the majority of us wouldn't survive, and the girls would fare the worst. Out of the 30 or so children that went into the mutations, only a handful of boys survived the experiments. All the girls had died. There could be a couple of reasons why the girls died. Maybe the girls were experimented on before the first successful witches were made, and thus leading to only a few boys that remained getting successful transition. Or maybe the survival rate for girls is just generally lower than for boys. That being said, there have been female Witchers in some different Witcher-related stories. The first example being a female Witcher who went by the name Dragonfly. She appeared in the Polish pen and paper RPG from the early 2000s. In the When the Time Comes scenario, she was said to be a Witcher from the Cat School. Another female Witcher appeared in the Hexer film and series. She was named Adela, and was at some point a child nursed to health by Geralt when he was a Witcher in training. She would later go on to go to a different school and be trained as a Witcher herself. So, as you can see, there are examples of female Witchers appearing in some form or another. But why don't we see more of them? Well, just be kept in mind that with all the Witchers being men, training a little girl might be more difficult due to the lack of knowledge about how girls work and go through puberty. This, combined with the fact that Witchers can choose not to take certain children with them, might have led to them just never taking girls to their schools. It could have been the case that because the first Witchers created were all boys, that they decided to only train boys, as they knew that it had a chance of working, while they were unsure if a girl could become a Witcher. There seems to be a possibility for maybe in the future girls being trained as Witchers, but right now we don't have any that appear in the books and games. But what do you think? Would you like to see a female Witcher make an appearance? Perhaps as more common members of the School of the Manticore, as that school is located near Zerrikania, where female warriors are more common. Or would you just prefer for all Witchers to remain only men? Till the next video. Bye.